Hi, I'm Tammy White. Welcome to Hope in the Light of Suicide. I'm the founder and CEO of the Bobby White Foundation.
Hi, I'm Bonnie Snyder. I am your co-host. Welcome.
Well, we're back after we took last week off because it was your daughter's birthday. You had some big plans. And it was also How the Grinch Saved Christmas with WPBA, which is an organization that we're both members of. So we're back this week. The week started off like really pretty good, positive. You know, we had the Grinch, and we're gonna talk more about that here shortly. But it was kind of like, and then Tuesday night was Christmas for the Grinch families. And then Wednesday, everybody kind of got smacked. As most people know, Stephen Boss, everybody knows him as Twitch. He was the DJ for the Ellen DeGeneres show for many, many years, and a phenomenal dancer. Took his life on Tuesday. That was really hard.
You know, I was watching my social media pages blew up with, news of this particular loss. And, I watched Ellen a couple of times. I enjoyed her show, but, it wasn't one of those shows where, oh my God, I gotta go home. I joke, it's not like going to watch the soap opera.
Right.
I don't miss, I unabashedly and unapologetically say I am a soap opera. I am addicted to the soaps and have been forever. So, but anyways, Ellen, it wasn't, she wasn't a soap opera, like my soap opera addiction. But needless to say, I have watched her show over the years, numerous times. So I liked her as, I don't think I really paid attention to her as an actress, but I did pay attention to her as a talk show host. Mm-hmm. And so I was familiar with who this person was, or I would see this person, but I never really put a name to a face. But anyway, I'm looking at my social media, page. And friends and family were just devastated, which I found out that a few friends and family members who knew him personally. Mm-hmm. And of course, I'm reading this, and I was like, "Who is this guy? Who is this guy?" Again, my brain is still not processing who is this guy. However, the matter of his death was, I was like, oh yeah, we'll definitely be talking about this on the show. But yesterday I was sitting in my office, and one of my coworkers was, there talking, and she turned around and she was like, "This has been an emotional day." It was yesterday, I want to say the day it happened. And I'm looking at her, I was like, "Oh," and she says, "Yeah." So she's in her car driving, and she says, "I had to pull over on the side of the road." She goes, "I am sobbing uncontrollably, just sobbing. I am just so heartbroken over, this loss." And I was sharing with her, and I said, "Yes, I'm watching some of my, guy I was in the military with. He was like, "Oh my God, I can't believe my friend is gone, nice guy," and everything like that. And again, I'm like, I didn't know him like that. I just knew from, the show. But anyways, I'm talking to my coworker, and I asked her who was she talking about. And, she said his name, and I guess the name didn't register. And then I was like, oh. And she was like, "I don't know why, this affects me like this." And I think what I found from, people who are, reflecting on, this particular loss and whatnot, of how it is so uncharacteristic. You know what I mean? I never saw this coming. He was such a good, he was very talented. He was very happy. He was always upbeat. He was this, that, and the other. And I can't believe that. And I'm looking at them as I was like, okay, I get it. And unfortunately, this is yet another illustration of just because what you see out here, you were always taken aback when we find out what's going on in here doesn't match what we see out here. And yeah, I almost see this suicide loss. Let me identify a little more. Celebrity suicide loss. I don't think I've seen this level of angst and sadness from, us non-celebrity types in quite some. Like this one, to me, seems to be affecting people more than more than anyone. Like, if I go back and I think when Robin Williams took his life, people were sad. But this reaction is totally different. When Anthony, you think Anthony Bourdain or Kate Spade, when they took their respective lives, people were sad because oh my God, these are talented people and we love them. This one's different. This one feels so different.
Yeah, and I don't know what it is. I don't know if it is the time of the year. Information that's coming out. They just celebrated their 9th anniversary. They did a couple of videos on TikTok just days before that were like amazing. It hit me hard because harder than the others because when after losing Bobby and when I broke my leg 3 months later, I couldn't do anything. I had to sit. So for months, I knew for an hour, 5 days a week, I can watch Ellen and Twitch and smile and laugh and get out of my own head. Mm-hmm. That happened, right after Bobby died. And then 2 years later, when I broke my arm, of course, it was my dominant arm, so I couldn't work. Mm-hmm. And it was the same thing. I knew at this time of day, 5 days a week, I can sit, smile, laugh, be happy, not think about what's going on in my head. And now this. It was just, and coming off of 2 events really close together back to back. I mean, he took his life the day that we had the Christmas party for our families for the Grinch. And I was devastated. I was devastated, but I was even more devastated because we hear about the celebrities. This week in our own community in Pasco County, we had a murder-suicide. We've had several attempts, 2 completions, and then a third one in my own neighborhood, a 16-year-old girl. Those are the ones that are still happening every day, several a day in our communities that nobody hears about. So,
or they don't get, I might say it's not so much that no one hears about them. It is they don't get the front page exposure that when it's a celebrity, or it's I hate to look at it in terms of. Let me put it this way. When I look at things in terms of statistics, and I have a love-hate relationship with statistics, and people look at you and it's like, how could you, wait a minute, you have a love-hate relationship with statistics. And for me, here's my love-hate relationship with them. On the hate side of it, I mean, going through school statistics.
Oh, that was,
Nobody likes
I think it took me 4 times to pass statistics class.
Well, no, I mean, a lot of us I joke, I remember my statistic teacher, professor, was a engineer. I think, what kind of engineer? Like aerospace engineer. So this guy.
Somebody too smart.
Yeah, so this guy, this guy probably invented being smart. Very nice guy, though. But I remember, going, to the class and whatnot, and he looked at us and he was like, after this class, that book, burn it, because you'll never use it again. And I'm looking at him like, I spent $80 for this book. I was like, I spent $80 for this. Now mind you, this is $80 many years ago.
Right.
Okay, and I can only imagine what that same.
It's probably twice as much money now.
I still have the book. I never burnt it. I've saved books. I'm a nerd when it comes to that. But anyway, so doing statistics, and even fast forward to a few years ago when I was doing the doctorate, and we were doing statistics and whatnot, and I'm like, I hate stats. I really hate stats. But at the same time, the love side of stats comes because it is the driving force behind what we do in terms of whether it's policies, change, addressing the audience or giving them something to look at. Hey, we have, in our particular case, we have these suicides that are happening at this rate. We want to reduce it to where it is less, or in the case of suicide, God, if we could make it to zero, like, could you?
It's never gonna. Well, that's unrealistic.
Well, here's the thing. For me, it's more of an issue of being unrealistic. I think from a fundamental side of it, we can acknowledge it's unrealistic, but from a whether it's a policy side or a change side, to verbalize, wouldn't it be amazing if we can imagine a day where no one takes their life?
It would be nice.
So, and again, I'm not discounting, realities, but again, from a statistical standpoint, I'd like to be able to say that there were 0 deaths by suicide today, on this particular day. And so, unfortunately, when you're looking at, the non-celebrities and whatnot, it's like they become another statistic. This is somebody else that we're going to have to count in the numbers. It isn't until somebody of prominence or celebrity, when they die by that same means, with some people, there's this sudden call to action. Let's do this in remembrance of, whether it is Robin Williams or Anthony Bourdain or Kate Spade or now, Twitch. Like, I'm sitting back thinking and waiting for someone to say, in the light of this, we're going to, do this here, to honor Twitch's legacy. And of course, we can sit back and, all right, so what about all of the non-celebrities? What about their quote-unquote legacies? Now, again, I understand that when you have a platform, and that is a platform of prominence, people are going to, take notice. So, I mean, we do this, we're here on set, pretty much every week, with exceptions, mind you. And it's like, how many people know we exist?
Yeah, we do this every week for 2 years.
Yeah, how many people know, so we can, we have this platform to get information out. How much change is going to happen? We know, but then we don't know, what, do we have the same reach as an Ellen DeGeneres show? Well,
no, we're not that famous yet.
Yeah, the opposite word being yet. But yeah, it is, sad when you hear, guys, to your point, what about everybody else that wasn't a celebrity? that is no longer with us today because they checked out. I shouldn't say checked out.
That's
They are no longer with us because of the same, because they left us in the same manner.
Yeah, and like I said, I mean, we have 3 in our own community just this week also. I had put together, and I'd pulled out a couple of the slides that I put together for the presentation for the church. If Rob can put up which ones. These are just some things to look for. Now, it's not an exclusive or extensive list, but it kind of will get people thinking. Signs to look for. There's many, many more. Rob, if you could put maybe ASAT 13 or 14. These are just some signs to look for. Maybe, there we go. If a person talks of killing themselves, that's not, I mean, people do that. They will, it's not quite as often, but a big one for me is being a burden to others.
Well, and if I go back to where that very first one, if a person talks about killing themselves, what I do, and mind you, it's, in the the arena, being in the profession. When I used to, back when I lived in Kansas, and I did staff training on suicide awareness, and what to look for. And even now, fast forward to today, doing the same thing with someone says I want to kill myself. I look at people and I said it's important that we understand what the context is. There's a difference between my Cowboys aren't doing very well. Just kill myself. So kill myself. My team sucks. Or something like that. Or I had one little girl, middle schooler, just broken up with her boyfriend, and they, of course, when we think of sixth graders dating, I was like, you guys will date somebody today, and tomorrow you'll have somebody new. It's just the nature of sixth graders. But anyway, she's like, oh, if my boyfriend breaks up with, and this is true of adults too, mind you, but if my boyfriend breaks up with me, I think I'm just going to die. Like, I will die if they break up. And I look at him, it's like, okay, we hear someone say this. I think it's important to explore what is the meaning behind this when I kill myself. Because it could be something as, if I look, I was like, oh my God, I can kill myself, my boy, I'm rooting for the boys and they die. Do I mean, literally that I'm going to end my own life? No. And so I have again, another one of those love-hate relationships with utilizing that phrase to express disappointment. I can kill myself. I jump on the scale. I can kill myself. I don't believe I weigh this. But I know that it's not there.
Right.
So it's not just. I think it's important to understand that it is not just one thing. Sometimes it's a culmination of different things that the red flag gets raised higher and higher and higher.
More often than not, if those signs are being exhibited. Now, oftentimes they're not either, just as not knowing intimately, but just knowing outwardly, with Twitch. Who would have thought? We have another one that has a slide that pertains partly to military. The next one, I think, is, I don't know which one is which. Yeah, there we go. Different behaviors, increased drug or alcohol, and any of these can pertain, except for the military ones, the others can pertain to both teenagers and adults. A lot of times, even sometimes with teenagers or young adults, exhibiting dangerous behavior that is something that they don't normally do. But these are just some things to think about. Like I said, it's not all the signs. It could be several. It could be one. It is just so complicated. But there are ways that you can help if you see anybody exhibiting any of these signs. The first one that struck me when I was putting this together. Assume you're the only one that's reaching out, because you might be.
One of the things then that's true. I mean, you never know that you are that. And there might be times that you are the only person who has said something to that person. That might be the difference between their, life and, if they choose to attempt and unfortunately complete. As I'm looking at, some of the signs to look for, again, I cannot stress enough to be cautious that just because you see some of these signs exhibited, that it automatically means the person is contemplating suicide. It is more than just, like I was looking at the military-specific ones, for example, and one of them I saw, it said visiting grave sites. And I'm like, okay, that could be a sign at the same time. And again, I'm going to take it off the military, for a minute. As you know, I'm a veteran. But, if I look at somebody's out visiting somebody's gravesite, my immediate thought isn't, oh, this person is in danger of, wanting to attempt suicide.
Well, I think it goes back into the context.
Correct, which is the point I'm making.
Yeah.
If I see somebody, if I think back years ago, the biggest red flags used to be somebody's depressed for a while, but then all of a sudden you see them, let's just say Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, this person is like depressed down in the dumps, the world is going to end to them. I mean, that deep of depression. But then all of a sudden you see them on Thursday and they are upbeat, they're smiling, and it was like nothing, like all the beginning of the week has resolved itself. And unfortunately, I think what happens is people are like, oh, well, if I'll use my name, Bonnie's feeling better. She's not as depressed as she was Monday. She's, all right, or, hey, Bonnie, I see you're feeling better. And I'm like, yeah, I am. And so what some people mistake it as, oh, I've gotten over that hump that I'm on. That euphoria that I'm exhibiting it's my own release in that, you know what, tomorrow I don't have to worry about all of this stuff because I'm going to be gone. I'm going to end it tomorrow. So it is, that I find a lot of truth in that statement, that moment of euphoria before you die. Whether it is, of course, people would say whether suicide or not. If I know, for example, and I'm sure she's okay with me sharing this. Greg's mom, for example, is, a huge sports fan, huge. And while we were visiting, she has this Dallas Cowboy mug that she's had for, from my understanding, she's had it for years and years and years. And when we were visiting, she was like, I'm going to give you this mug. And she, this Dallas mug is now sitting in my house. It came back, from our trip. So I'm looking at this, and I'm like, okay, so prized possession, this cup that's been, in her possession for years. My brain does not automatically go, oh, this woman just gave me one of her prized possessions. You know?
Right.
Am I concerned about her and an attempted suicide? Absolutely not. Because there's other components that are missing. And again, I think it's important to caution where if you see something that is out of the norm, speaking up about it, addressing, hey, you're okay. You need to talk. Sometimes, depending on how you word it, it's strictly up to you. You gonna be with us tomorrow? You're not thinking, so to make sure you're not thinking about harming yourself or anything like that. We tell people it's quite all right, and sometimes it's and I would say more times than not, let's just say it's necessary to ask the direct question, are you thinking about hurting yourself? Are you thinking about ending your life? Because sometimes people wow, for me, what I feel when that happens, or the belief system is, you see me. You see what's going on. You see the need that I have, or you see a need, my need, that requires addressing. Rather than, you okay? Yeah, I'm okay. All right. I'll see you later.
Right.
And it's like, wow, I was only worth a minuscule amount of time for you to say, how you doing? Okay, you really don't care about me, versus, are you thinking about hurting yourself? I'm concerned. And being mindful not to make it about you. Again, it's going to sound that I'm contradicting one of the things that was up on the slide. Let the person know how much they mean to you. And it's like, okay, I co-sign, I'm on board with that. I think it's equally important to help that person see the value they have within themselves. It's like, okay, it's like somebody looking at you and saying you're pretty, but you don't think you're pretty. And it's like, you can tell me all day long, oh, I think you're pretty, I think you're beautiful. And I was like, all right, that's your opinion. I don't feel that way. Until I get to a point to where I think I'm pretty. I don't care. Like a billion people can look at me and tell me, all right, what do you guys want? What do you guys want? Because obviously you don't see what and I like his people say, you don't see what I see. So when you look at somebody, hey, you matter to me. Okay. And your point is what? Well, because you matter to me, in my mind, if I'm the person that's contemplating, all right, I matter to you, you're just one person, and I don't want you to have to worry about, thus that burden piece. I don't want you to have to worry about me anymore. So hey, yeah, thanks for the kindness. I'm out. I would tell, I used to tell people, or part of the training that I would do, is, to remind the person, or ask the person, is this the first time you've ever felt sad? Is this the first time that you've ever felt bad? And I would venture to say that 9 times out of 10, all of us can say, no, this is not. What did you do then? How did you pull yourself out of that sadness then, that you're still here? Oh, well, whatever. Okay. So what you've demonstrated to me is an ability to pull yourself out of dark spots. And then it's like, but this is different. It's different because the pain might be a little more. It's kind of like the difference between slicing my finger when I'm making dinner and, getting my sides sliced open by, the surgeon, doing my surgery. They're both cuts. Yeah, this was a bigger cut than this is. They both, this one hurt like the dickens, or didn't hurt. Yeah, this one did not hurt as much as this one. But at the end of the day, whether it was this little pain that I got from my finger cut from a knife in my kitchen. And this cut that I got from a surgeon in an operating room, guess, you know what? I still got through that pain no matter how great. And again, it's important reminding people who are in a tough spot, let's look at the ways that you got through other difficult times in your life and apply it to this one. And if we have to come up with something else to give that application a boost, let's do it. Let's talk it through. But just want to you matter.
Yeah, I'm going to have those slides available on our Facebook page also. So, and along kind of like the same lines, I was on a Zoom seminar, I guess, with is it Tampa Bay Behavioral Health. They have the hospital in Wesley Chapel, and the Jason Foundation last week. And there's a lot of resources on the Jason Foundation. They're geared towards the teen suicide. Jason happened to take his life at the age of 16 in 1997, and his father founded the Jason Foundation. They have an app that you can put on your phone, and you can get it either from the Apple Store or for Android. I have it on mine. I think it's called A Friend Asks. And that first screen there, you just click on any of those little icons, and it'll take you to different parts where you can get help. I'll see if I can pull mine up, make it, maybe. But it's a good app, I think, for anybody to have, particularly teenagers. So if you click on Get Help Now, it comes up with the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline, the 911 number, the text number to Jason, 741-741. Don't be afraid to ask for help. It also has a SAMHSA local locator. It's just a good app to have. There is a disclaimer, which for all of us really is no program can guarantee to prevent suicide. Always call 911 or get somebody to an emergency room for help. Some of the information from that seminar is they also have a B1 pledge, and some of the statistics that were given during that seminar is just, it's crazy. Suicide is the second leading cause of death for youth ages 10 to 24. The only grouping of unintentional injuries, which includes drowning, car accidents, accidental drug overdoses, things like that, accidents like that, surpasses suicide. It's the second leading cause of death for our nation's 12 to 18-year-olds. Again, the accidental death grouped all together is the only one that is ahead of that. So this B1 pledge, there's three components to it. One is to be aware. The second one is be able to identify, like those slides we put up. If you can identify some of the risks,
I think it's important to note too, like going back to this first statistic, that we lose more young people to suicide than we do to car crashes or car accidents, or, crashes.
Well, that's all injuries, whether it's drowning.
What it says here is, in fact, we lose more young people to suicide than to car accidents. And I think ways to, using that statistic, is unintentional injuries. That's everything included. Is the
Everything.
only thing that surpasses
Right.
what we lose to suicide.
Right.
But to put that even into a more profound, I guess if that's the word I want to use, understanding of this, epidemic of suicide, is if you take car crashes alone out of that unintentional grouping, we lose more kids to crashes than to suicide. It's almost like if you go, let's just say 100 unintentional injuries, and let's just say 25 of those are crashes. You look at just suicide alone, and 26 of those, of suicide, that surpasses just, the 25 out of that 100, which again, it's alarming in that, we can narrow down that unintentional death, and even more so. Let's piece and parcel. I would sit back and I would wonder, well, what if you compare it to drownings, or what's the other thing they have here? Accidental drug overdoses. And to me, the drug overdose, that's a tricky one for me.
That's a very tricky one.
If you're, when we're identifying somebody's death as an accidental drug overdose, for me, it's like, was it really accidental? And I think, unfortunately, what happens with that is, well, that person had a substance use history, so therefore they understood the danger, so therefore, it had to be an accident, versus, was it really? Was it?
Well, and that's, that's something that's hard to identify, whether or not it was an accident or intentional when it comes to that. So again, be able to, this is where, talking about it and talking about suicide, learning about it, educating yourself, learning the signs, being able to figure things out. Even they say here, by themselves, many of these observations are not sure signs that someone is suicidal, but could mean that they are struggling with issues in their life and could use help. If these issues are not addressed or treated, they may result in suicidal thoughts or attempts.
Kind of what we were just talking about a few minutes ago, right? Not focusing on just one specific thing, but looking at, and I'm not saying, oh, I only see depression, so it's not that big of a deal, because there's not, there's not a couple other things going on with it. I think it's important, like it says right here, is, to me, one red flag might very well be the red flag.
Right.
I'd rather, find myself addressing the one red flag and finding out that it was nothing, rather than waiting for the multiple red flags, not saying anything, and, we have another statistic on our hand. But I think, that does not, it's like, well, doesn't that contradict what you just said a minute ago, Bonnie? No, it doesn't. Because what I'm saying is, by addressing that one red flag that presents itself, you may find those other red flags exist.
Yeah, you might. The last one here is be prepared to react. And this is, have a game plan. This is where knowing all the previous information, this is where this comes into effect. Have a game plan. If any of your friends ever indicates they are struggling or thinking of hurting themselves, don't be afraid to talk to someone who seems to be depressed or hurting, or at the very least your friends will know there is someone who cares for them. And we've said this before, talking about suicide does not give a person the ideas about it.
Yeah, I think, here, as individuals, we all like to feel as if we have someone that we can talk to regardless of what's going on. I can sit back and I'm like, who do I have in my life that I can identify? So it's a comfort knowing I have a group of people, all right, that I can even say if I'm speed dial, that I can go and talk to, regardless to whether I am, feeling down and I need to vent, or, I'm on top of the world and I just want to share, this good news with them. I like where, they said, where is it? Where did I just read it at? Your friends will know that there is someone there who cares about them. And again, I don't, as that friend, or some friends might say, really, you only talk to me when you're depressed. You only talk to me when, you're going through something, and then when things are fine, you don't talk, like you don't have time for me. And I look at you and say, hey, you know what? If I'm your, not so fair weathered friend, or that person that you come to when fair weather is not happening in your life, I'll be that person. Yeah, it would be nice if you talked to me during that time too. At the same time, reminding yourself not to get so wrapped around the axle when, if you have that friend that only comes to you when things are going crappy. Because look, I would look at it this way. I would take it more as an honor and, kind of put me a notch above that you trust me. Everybody wants to be around you when you're happy. Mm-hmm. Everybody wants to celebrate when you're celebrating something. How many people run for the hills when you're dealing with something, stressful or, what's the word I want? Tragic. Mm-hmm. I don't want to be, I don't want to deal with the drama. I don't want you to pull me down. So, I like this having a game plan in place.
Yeah, always be prepared to approach a trusted adult. This is for kids, or even if it's an adult, a trusted person. Here are some examples of where you could go to for help for trusted people. A teacher, a coach, parents, clergy, guidance counselor, doctor, local mental health center. Of course, there's the prevention lifelines, 988, the text lines, and again, having these emergency numbers in your phone is always a good idea. At the end of our show, we always show them, and now downloading the Jason Foundation's A Friend Asks app.
And here I like this bit of information that they give where they says, never tell someone you will keep their thoughts and feelings a secret. Be willing to risk a friendship to save their life. Unfortunately, I know amongst teenagers, young folks, it is more about preserving the friendship, mm-hmm. and not wanting to lose a friendship is more important than anything else. And my thing would be like, I'd rather lose this friend or I'd rather be looking at this person or having the ability to look at this person every day, with the knowledge that we are no longer friends, than not being able to see this person because, they're buried or, sitting on somebody's shelf somewhere.
Well, I want to change gears to happy stuff.
We can do that.
You can do that. I mentioned earlier about the Grinch.
I thought that was an article.
I know, me too. But no, he's got it. He's back. So last Friday night, we had a big fundraising event, How the Grinch Saved Christmas. It's the first time in 2 years that we've had it in person. It was sold out. We had over 400. We had 400 people there, and it is to support families that are going through a hard time during the holidays. And the Bobby White Foundation nominated one of the families that were introduced to us just recently, who, what is it? How did I word it? A young mother, she's in her early 30s, took her life 3 months ago, and there's 2 young children involved, her fiance, her mom. But anyway, we had these families at the event Friday night. Our family was all there. The little ones were, Maddie is 3 and Chase is 6. They were just adorable. They lasted the whole entire night. Rob, if you could pull up the Christmas family, well, I don't know if it's the Grinch night. I think it's number 1. Yeah, that one. So I think I have a couple of them. But there's our family that was nominated. And little Chase, I haven't got the picture yet, but there's a really cute picture of him hugging Santa Claus. It's just adorable. Now, this was Tuesday night when we actually gave all the families Christmas. And all the kids got bicycles and gifts. And it was this night, Tuesday night, was a much smaller. It was just WPBA members and the families. And it was just a wonderful time. That's Kyle and Maddie and Chase. They were riding the bicycles around we had it at the, Tuesday night was at that Greek place out there on 54, that big white building out there by the, I can't remember. I never remember the name of it. But anyways, when they got their bikes, the little ones were riding their bicycles around inside. So just trying to help them have some semblance of, a little time of happiness. And it's just been 3 months since Brittany's been gone. And the family really, really appreciated it. One of the other families that was represented was, I'm sure you saw in the news, a young mother who died she was working a backyard fire pit. I think they live in Tarpon or someplace. So a young father with 5 kids left behind. Now, one thing really, really cool happened on Friday night. Both of these dads that are now left taking care of these very young children, I was out, walking around doing my little chatty stuff. And I come back to the table, and these 2 young fathers are sitting together talking. And I think they made a really good connection and are going to be really good support, for each other. They're both in their 30s. Very, very recent losses. And but that's why I joined WPBA, for what we give back to the community. I originally joined the Friday morning group because Fridays were really hard for me. because that's the day that Bobby died. And I needed to start my mornings differently. And so there was this organization, and I knew about it. I went to Grinch before I even became a member, just as part of the community. But I joined for that Friday difference and what this organization does in the community to make a difference. And so it's kind of like another community partner for the foundation, also. My family that we nominated they're just so grateful for what took place Friday and Tuesday, and really opened their eyes to knowing that they don't have to go through this
alone, yeah,
tragedy all by themselves, that there's people that really care and want to love on them and their kids. And now these families are going to be forever a part of our family, for our foundation and for WPBA.
The one thing that I found that struck me was when you were talking about the two men having a conversation with one another, and the potential that here's a friendship that's going to be forged through a common loss. And I find that happens so much with individuals who share common tragedy, if you want to call it, whether it is and I sit back and I think of networking groups and or social media pieces that either are on that I have in my own personal life, or that I see out there. There's the there's one support group, it's grieving mothers. These are just women like myself. For example, we I don't want to use the word joke, but we describe it as when somebody new joins the club, the sentiment amongst those of us have been welcome to a club that none of us wanted to be in. When I look at some of the resources that we have out there, the ASAP's Journey to Healing Hearts, Journey to Healing Hearts, Ian's Way, and that Monday group for the teens, things that NAMI does, things that Samson has done, all of these places that are sources of support that people just people who are experiencing the same situation can just come and sit and chit chat. If I think of for instance Journey to Healing Hearts, in that same light, we get on there and we're like, this is a safe space just for you to be able to talk about what's going on. And sometimes it is somber, where it's like, oh my God, I'm really feeling it today because it's an anniversary or it's a birthday and whatnot. And remember having a conversation with somebody about, do you really want to say anniversary when you're talking about the day you lost? Because when you think of anniversaries, that's it's positive, it's upbeat. But I applaud them for being able to come together, and I would not be surprised if the conversation was, so welcome to the I'm glad I met you. I just wish it wasn't under these circumstances. Welcome to this club that nobody wants to be in. But it's a club that exists just the same.
Yeah, I'm hopeful that these two young men forge a really good and lasting friendship, and I think that they'll be of great help to each other.
And I hope they continue to be mindful to reach out to community organizations and the resources that are out there for them, and not just I hate to think of people who are suffering in their own silence, I don't want to talk about this. I don't, or I have to deal with this on my own because I don't know where to go.
Right.
And I think it's important that, as they hold on to each, lean on each other for support if that's the direction that they go in, that they're also mindful that there are community resources as well.
Well, and I think this whole thing kind of opened them up to seeing that, So I think it's going to be a good thing. To me, that part of Friday night was the best part for me when I came walking back and saw these two guys sitting together talking.
Yeah,
and they exchanged phone numbers and everything, so I know that's going forward. So
I hated that I missed it,
So let's put up our phone numbers. That new 988 came out in June or July. That is a call or text number. Again, put all this information in your phones. You just never know. Gal that I know posted this on Facebook, and I told her I was going to take it because actually not long after Bobby died, my aunt said this to me. So when you reach the end of your rope, tie a knot in it and hang on. And I thought that was kind of
I like that.
appropriate, especially for this week. It kind of felt that way, going through you get the highs and the lows of the week. And
we get through it.
We get through it. Hang
Why?
on.
Because
there's always hope. Thank you.